Hello, everyone. Welcome to Comic Book Late Night Unlimited. It is I, Captain Logan, and as always, I'm going to talk about new comics. We're going to see what's coming out tomorrow, and I'm going to show you everything that I got last week. Last week was a pretty big week for me, the most books that I have bought since I started getting into new again, into current, which I just started doing a few weeks ago. It remains surreal doing this week to week and being back in a current and actually caring about what's happening in comics. At least if you're not Marvel, that's not fair. I hear there's good things going on there, at least with Ultimate, but I have not dipped my toe back into that yet. So I've got two Marvel books that I bought last week, but one of them was older. It's still a recent issue, but not one that came out last week. But the other Marvel book I didn't really care for very much. I'll mention that briefly when we go through these. But I don't know, I'm hoping to see Marvel step up their game a little bit. I do have a couple of minis, I think I've mentioned this before, that are on my pull that are coming out later this year. There's a new Marvel Zombies miniseries that I'm looking forward to, and Spider-Man 94. But like I keep saying, I just don't care about mainstream continuity right now with the big two for the most part, but I certainly care more about it with DC than I do Marvel, and I'm certainly willing to try stuff. I mean, if somebody says something's brilliant with Marvel, I'm certainly willing to try it, but I have looked at enough with DC more recently that I would like to do more of that, I guess is what I'm saying. A little bit later in the program, I'm going to do a sign flip review for the first few issues of Absolute Martian Manhunter, which was requested right at the last minute, the 11th hour last week by Chewbacca's Lover. So Super Chat goal, or Super Chat winner, I should say, each week gets to pick the book that I am going to try out for next week, that I'm going to sample. And we didn't have any Super Chats last week until right at the end when Chewbacca's Lover threw one in, and I've been really trying to just do trade length things. So the first few issues of something as it might be traded. Absolute Martian Manhunter is only through 4 issues, and actually the 5th does come out tomorrow, which I'm real curious about now that I've read the first 4. So I won't have a complete story arc to talk about. I don't even know if that book is really going to be broken up into story arcs. It's kind of crazy to even think that that is a monthly, not to get too ahead of myself like the other Absolute books, because it totally reads like a Tom King, not that it's, I mean, it's not written by him, but it reads like it's in a real similar format to his 12-issue maxi runs, like Vision or Mr. Miracle or something, and it's crazy to think that thing is going to go beyond 12. I'm really curious to see how it's got legs, and that's not throwing shade at it at all. It's just the most reinvented of the characters that I've read so far anyway, in feeling almost like it's taking the original concept and ideas of Martian Manhunter and doing more of a metaphorical reinvention of it. Like, it makes Batman and Superman feel much more traditional in their reinventions than they did before, because it's so different and so out there and so fresh and original, and I'm excited to talk about it a little bit later. But right now, let's go ahead and look at what's happening this week, what's coming out tomorrow. And as always, I've not looked at this at all. I did glance for a second, and I noticed that Absolute Martian Manhunter is tomorrow, but that's the only thing that I have seen so far. So let's take a look at the list. As always, we're looking at this from leagueofcomicgeeks.com, a website that I really appreciate the way they lay this out. It's really easy to see everything and scroll around and take a look. So a couple of Absolute books tomorrow: Absolute Wonder Woman number 10, Absolute Martian Manhunter number 5. Apologies for constantly repeating myself, this being a weekly program. I feel like I'm saying a lot of the same things over and over again, and I don't mean to, but I've only so far, if you've not heard me talk about this before, only read Batman and Superman. I'm caught up on Batman now. I did get Absolute number 10, and I'm still in this limbo where I'm trying to decide how much I'm buying these in singles, but I was too curious to see what happens next with this, and I'm liking the Bane covers, and I was like, fine, I'll go ahead and and get 10. Even though I was kind of I cheated a little bit last week. I was kind of on my limit for the number of books I'm trying to buy every week. But maybe it'll be a little bit more slim this week. That's my hope anyway, that I won't walk out with more than 3 or 4 things tomorrow. But anyway, so I've not checked out Wonder Woman yet. Austin says good things about that. I haven't looked at Flash or Green Lantern. But I did see an amusing ad in something I was reading today for Absolute Green Lantern that was still the whole nothing verse kind of line. That's like there's no Oa and there's no rings but it's still Green Lantern somehow, and it's just nuts that this has worked out and that it seems to be saving the comics industry, while I thought it sounded like the worst idea ever when it started. And here I am proselytizing it right along with everybody else. But so far on this program, we've been doing a ton of Absolute, even though I've only read these 3 books. We just keep talking about it. And we'll see if anybody requests anything that's not Absolute for next week. Once again, quick plug, if you want to get to pick the thing that I talk about next time that I'll do my sign flip review for, you can leave a super chat in any dollar amount, and you can mention what you want me to talk about. You can also ask me any questions or suggest any topics for the program related to new comics. So anyway, we've got Superman 28. Crazy how far in these recent DC series, mainline continuity series are. I keep forgetting the name of that initiative. Now they're in All In. But what was it, Dawn of DC? I guess that's what it was called, Dawn of DC. The all-in thing I gotta mention is odd to me because they're putting that on all their books like it's a New 52 initiative or Rebirth or again the Dawn of DC thing, but it's across their whole line, and Absolute is in its own continuity. And so I can't decide if that's just for the sake of synergy, just going, no, really, all our stuff is great right now. You should be reading all of it. Like the term all in suggests they want you to buy everything. And at $4 or $5 a pop, it's kind of crazy to ask for that or expect that. But that's what that screams to me. You say all in. It's like, if I'm all in, I'm buying everything. Like the, living board games that I've bought. If I'm all in, it's everything. So I can't decide how much I should read into that, and if that lends any credence to it's not going to be too long before the Absolute universe starts blending and mixing with mainline continuity. And I hope they keep them separate for a good long time, or if they do some kind of big crossover event, it's like kind of a one and done thing. And I'm sure they'll come back and do stuff with it again, but that they get in and get out and then separate them again. But I don't know if we can trust that the way superhero comics tend to work. But anyway, moving right along, Amazing Spider-Man number 8 comes out tomorrow. If you're actually reading mainline Marvel stuff, what is happening in Spider-Man right now? I just keep hearing people, including Austin, making fun of the whole Mary Jane and Paul thing. But I don't know what's actually happening with the stories with this besides that. Sorry, let me move this around so that we can read this better. There we go. They're still doing their legacy numbering on top of their regular numbering. So they're trying to have their cake and eat it too, where they go, well, we've renumbered, now we're only at 8. But if you really care, it's 972. Time to die, Spider-Man. The city watches as Spider-Man takes the worst beating of his life. I don't know, there's some contenders. What can Spider-Man do to rally? There must be something. I can't even tell who he's going up against. But, well, I would start by trying to hack away at this guy with your axe. He's also got an axe. It looks like Spider-Man's about to go into a big axe fight. I don't know. That really tells me nothing about what's happening, except Spider-Man just got his ass kicked. I don't I don't know. Anyway, uh, here's Void Rivals 21. People keep suggesting that I read that, which I really want to do at some point. What does Green Arrow look like right now? Got that old Green Arrow font for the title. It looks like it did. If memory serves, kind of around the Kevin Smith era. Shocked by the mysterious and nefarious attack on Arsenal, Green Arrow enlists the help of Detective Benitez to uncover clues as to who Star City's dangerous and cold-blooded new Archer is. Oh my God, we're still introducing Archers in Green Arrow. Liam rejoins the fray and discovers hard truths and dark secrets about her father's past Lian, sorry, not Liam, as Green Arrow's once upon a time sidekick Speedy, characters that I am not familiar with. It sounds like just kind of, par for the course with Green Arrow, but somebody tell me if that's any good, if you've been reading it. Let's see, we mentioned a few weeks ago that Storm has her own series right now. Those covers have been really great. Moon Knight, Fist of Nanshu. I guess that's a cool subtitle for Moon Knight there. Oh, his oversized 250th issue, because we're really pushing the legacy numbering. This year marks 50 sense-shattering years of sense-shattering action. Who wrote this? Was it AI in the pages of Moon Knight? Okay, so it's not only his 250th issue, but it's 50 years of Moon Knight, with series scribe Jed McKay and your new favorite artist, Dev Pramanik, lending their talents to this epic and oversized issue. It's one you can't afford to miss, as it sets the stage for Jed's most ambitious and gut-wrenching story ever. Okay. Well, I wonder if that's any good. I went kind of in and out with Moon Knight. Like, I would try a run. I was never a giant Moon Knight fan, but I just always thought the costume was cool, and there'd be kind of new, fresh, inventive-looking takes. And so when I was reading new, a decade ago, I would read a few issues into Moon Knight, and then I would kind of lose interest. But I've the first few issues of like 3 runs of Moon Knight. What else is happening here? Geiger. Have we mentioned this one? I have been clicking on some of these Image independent series. I haven't tried any yet, and I'm hoping that somebody requests one soon. Although I actually have a plan for next time if there aren't super chats tonight, which will be in Image books. So I'm gonna get away from standard superhero for next time if that works out. If not that I'm saying I don't want anybody else to get the pick, but just if that's what ends up happening. If Geiger is the monster, then Dr. Andrei Molotov is his Dr. Frankenstein. Oh man, although I probably should be reading just whatever the first issue is of this, because I am not familiar with this series. Let's take a look at number 1. Have we, again, I can't remember if we looked at this. Jeff Johns and Gary Frank. Okay. The violent and unpredictable glowing man. Maybe we did look at this. This looks kind of fun, though. I could see myself taking a look at that. Not the kind of thing I would collect, but I would certainly read in digital. Let's see what folks are saying in the comments, if anything. Oh, Bob the Hunt. Oh, sorry, we actually do have super chats. Well, never mind. So somebody will get the pick for next time, and it looks like it might be Bob the Hunt. But feel free to jump in the fray if you're not Bob the Hunt and you are interested in my reviewing something for next week. $5 super chat from Bob the Hunt. Imagine absolute Marvel, where it's as reinvented as this DC is. Ultimate was less reinvented. Yes, and Ultimate was very... alternate dimension centered, where it was like if memory serves, because I only read the first issue of Spider-Man, but it seemed like it was kind of like a Secret Wars sort of idea, where you take the building blocks of the universe and you change it up. So there was a universe before. Now, Absolute, I think there was a one-shot or something that set up that universe, so maybe it also did that, but when you just read the individual books, you'd never know it, and Spider-Man leads with that idea. Anyway, Bob the Hunt says, would that be a good idea, and is there any merit to that? Well, it would be really ironic if it happened, right? Because Absolute looked like at first just a ripoff of Ultimate, and then it turned out to be a really creative reinvention. I we're trying just crazy new things, and we're not afraid to get away from entirely original power sets and background things, and there's kind of no rules and you can do anything you want to. So it'd be pretty crazy if Marvel came back and went, let's do our own Absolute universe after Absolute seemed like DC's Ultimate universe in the first place. But yeah, would there be any merit to that? Honestly, I kind of think there would be. You'd want them, of course, to learn the right lessons from it and to be as creator driven, and you'd hope that the creators would be inspired in the same way that that's happened with DC. But more than that, I feel like just any way the big two can find alternative stories to tell where you're not where you're not expected to keep up with mainline continuity is really smart right now. More graphic novels, more miniseries, more off the beaten path, like set apart stories that are just their own universes in the first place. The thing that I'm a little concerned about with Absolute is that it will just get too beefy, too big for its britches, and eventually will require a crisis like everything ends up needing. Like even Ultimate couldn't sustain itself, the original Ultimate. So I'd like to see Marvel do more Elseworlds type stuff before I'd like to see them do an Absolute universe, especially because they have a new Ultimate universe and people have been liking it. I did try out in digital, by the way, the first issue of the new Ultimate Wolverine, because somebody mentioned that last time and wanted me to look at the costume, which makes Wolverine look like a Mortal Kombat character, and I actually really enjoyed it. It's there's kind of a big mystery as to who exactly Wolverine is in that, but and I've only read the first issue, so maybe things have already been revealed a few in, because what are they, 4 or 5 issues into that, or even farther, I'm not sure. But there is a mention of Winter Soldier, and where like he's referred to that way, and he's kind of programmed like that. So I wonder if he is actually just flat out Bucky Barnes, like as Wolverine. I don't know. I've got to read further in, and it's been a week, and I've read a bunch of comics since then, so I don't remember it super well. But the art is awesome in it, and it was a good introduction. So I guess I'm certainly more curious about the Ultimate stuff happening at Marvel. But again, I would just like to see them do more like separate singular continuities, rather than necessarily like a whole second or I guess third universe. Bob the Hum put in another super chat. Thanks a lot for the support. $2 super chat. What would their Spider-Man look like, their X-Men, as far as if they had their own Absolute? Yeah, like it's that question that you have with DC's Absolute, right? Like, how far can you go in changing the chemical makeup of these things before it's so unrecognizable that people aren't going to care, and it doesn't have any of the spirit or the original concept, the original building blocks of how it started. Like, what would you do with Spider-Man if you made it that nothing verse thing? He wouldn't get bitten by a spider, and he wouldn't have an Aunt May. Like what exactly would it be? What's interesting with Marvel, though, is we've gotten so far away from the traditional status quos with certain characters, particularly Spider-Man, that it's hard to say where you'd want to start with it, because I feel like we've gotten too far away from the original idea in the first place. We cannot stop with Peter Parker being a super genius that has his own company, and like I don't think they're doing that right now, but we did that for a long time, and it never feels like a standard typical Spider-Man status quo. What would be cool, and I wonder if Absolute will do this, or if it's just too popular. What would be cool is if if you did a version of this with Marvel, and Ultimate could have been this, you go with the kind of original premise with Marvel in the first place, where you'd actually let these characters have a clear endpoint, like beginning, middle, and end. We know how many issues there's going to be, and not that they knew that at Marvel, but just with Spider-Man in particular, it always felt like this was a character that was growing and changing and could go in any place, and at some point it would stop, and it would be kind of neat if that was the initial premise with those things. And then Spider-Man's tough because, and you can say this about a lot of characters, but we've been so obsessed with the Spider-Verse idea lately, where it's kind of more about all of these different iterations of Spider-Man than it is about just Peter Parker, that anything you do with it in trying to create a new, interesting take on Peter Parker, it would be hard not to just feel like another Spider-Verse thing. So, yeah, like I don't immediately have a great pitch or anything. I feel like it's maybe it's arguably harder to do the Absolute thing with Marvel characters, and then I'll get back to tomorrow's books. But I think it's arguably harder to do this with Marvel's characters than DC's characters, just because at least the major initial like Trinity and some of the big Justice League characters at DC are such iconic, larger than life sorts of characters in the first place, that there's something I don't want to say primal, but there's something like mythic to the core of them that maybe, again, arguably makes it easier to do like really weird reinventions, and it still feels enough like those characters. Like Marvel feels maybe a little bit too specific in the first place, but then we have done lots of different reinventions with them. Certainly, it's just to go as far as Absolute's going. Is kind of the question. Like I said when Austin and I reviewed Batman, that Absolute feels like the whole Imagine Stan Lee idea done correctly, and it's funny to say that with Marvel, but like to do the Imagine Stan Lee idea, but with his own characters. But yeah, I don't have a great pitch right away for Spider-Man or X-Men, but I'd have to think about it. Austin says Absolute X-Men would be like Superman, I think, in the political aspect. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, that certainly makes sense. I mean, X-Men is such a political book in the first place. But I would, with something like X-Men, maybe go crazy and make them all not mutants. Like start from a completely different place. Like you'd still have the people who hate and fear them idea. You'd still have the bigotry thing at the core of it, because it's X-Men. So like that would be the thing you'd keep, but you'd maybe make it a completely different way that they have their powers. And I realize that mutants are handled differently in Ultimate, but they're still kind of mutants. Because if memory serves, it starts from a genetic experimentation place in that they're not born that way, or at least they're not naturally born that way, if memory serves, with the original Ultimate Universe. So I would maybe make them, make them all robots, or make them all aliens, or, like something just completely different. And then see if you could like thematically kind of keep it the same, but you'd find interesting ways to tweak it because of that. And then he said Peter lives with his parents instead of Ben and May, and he becomes a spy. I was expecting like a joke from Austin, but that's not terrible. That could maybe work. We've tried starting with the parents in the first place, like in the Amazing movies, but that would maybe be the first thing to do. Like with Absolute Batman, one of his parents is alive when he becomes Batman. It might be kind of neat to do something like that with Spider-Man, or like make him a SHIELD agent or something like that. Because it's also really easy to just go to a what if place with it, where it still feels like you diverged somewhere, in the continuity. I think with Marvel, it would be difficult not to just do a concept that's been done somewhere before. Austin, X-Men could be lab mutations. Yeah, like I said, I thought it was sort of that. But you mean like individually, where like it's a maybe they're just all Weapon X's or something. Anyway, well, thanks for the questions. Those were interesting, and that's why I talked about them for too long. But let's go back to what's happening tomorrow. So far, I don't think there's anything I've just absolutely gotta have, unless I'm picking up Absolute Martian Manhunter #5. I gotta see if my store still has some of the earlier issues, because if I don't have much going on tomorrow, I might go ahead and just start stacking those up, because having again, I'm giving my feelings away about this, but having now read those, I think I do probably want those in singles. Spider-Verse versus Venomverse. God, this stuff just irritates the crap out of me. I know I've said this before, but like, it's just obnoxiously gimmicky and commercial in the worst possible way. It's like, you couldn't beat this horse deader than we have beaten it. Look, it's death and betrayal. Round 2 has begun. It's number 3, but round 2 has begun. Okay. Now that blood has been spilled, the webs are off. The webs are off. Who wrote this? As Spider-Man and friends face off yet again against Venom and the symbiotes. See, even the synopsis feels tired of this. But not before 2 new champions are added to the roster. Who could these warriors be? Who could possibly care? And will they add to the slaughter that is now unleashed among the competitors? Will they betray their own team to avoid the conflict? These things have become gigantic toy commercials for toys they're not making and that nobody asked for. Yeah. Is anybody buying this stuff? I'm just wondering. I mean, they must be, because we cannot get away from the Spider-Verse, Venomverse. I just can't believe we're still doing that. We haven't really talked about this, but Jeff the Land Shark is real big right now. This is a character I'd never heard of until just recently. But he apparently got really popular in that Rivals game. Rivals is getting its own book that I think has started or is just about to start. And his first appearance is all of a sudden like really valuable. I can't remember if I've talked about this. But it's got a lot of fun variant covers. That's an all ages book. Not a thing I care about, but I'm waiting for the inevitable day when my kids latch onto it and they're like, Dad, when are you going to start getting Jeff the Land Shark? And my shop has a bunch of copies of that. They went all in on Jeff the Land Shark. Let's see, what else is happening? Feral, here's another series from Image. Maybe we talked about this before. It looks like a bunch of stray cats. They're just doing all kinds of things. A lot of variety over at Image with their creator-owned stuff. I guess that's redundant. I guess everything there is. Okay, so this is weird. This was solicited weeks ago, the Space Ghost Annual. I have it on my pull list. I guess I'm finally getting that tomorrow. It's weird that it's now been solicited again. I didn't think it was officially pushed back. I thought there was some kind of a miscommunication with the stores and the distributor for Dynamite, but maybe that got so bad that they had to resolicit everything because all these stores haven't gotten Dynamite in like a month. It's very strange, because like I had it on back order and then came to find out that, like, from my store, and came to find out that nobody has been getting Dynamite books. So it's really weird. Gwenpool is back with issue 3. I'm gonna assume that this is only the second volume of Gwenpool. I used to buy this book. It was kind of a guilty pleasure for me. I'm not gonna get back into Gwenpool, I don't think, because I think I'm really ragging on Marvel tonight, but I really feel like the standard house style, particularly with just the way Marvel handles comedy right now, is kind of I don't want to say it starts with Gwenpool, but like Gwenpool was doing that before I felt like everything was doing it, and now it's become just par for the course, and I'm really really tired of it. So like I really when that started, I thought it was funny, and I thought there was a novelty to it. It was like the way it was doing the fourth wall break stuff and the self-aware humor and having a character that ostensibly comes from our world into a comic book universe, who like has to use her fangirl knowledge of it was kind of a fun idea to me. And then I just started seeing it everywhere. And that was before I was familiar at all with Miss Marvel. Like, I didn't realize, like, Kamala Khan was also kind of like that, where she's this obsessed fangirl who becomes a superhero. And once I started seeing it in too many things, it stopped being fun. So I don't know that I would ever go back to this character now. But like I said, it was a guilty pleasure for me when it started. Now her book is The Haunting of Gwenpool. Look, World Without a Gwenpool. Oh, she's dead now. Maybe that's supposed to be the joke. Because, like, if she died, no one would notice. Funeral for Gwendolyn Poole. 2 graves, 2 bodies, 2 restless souls. Peter Parker finds himself trapped in the past. Spider-Man's real featured here, as you can see on the cover, as Kate Bishop faces a future without her friend. I didn't even realize they were friends. Okay. The new Gwenpool's world takes a dark turn toward event. Oh, so Kate Bishop is being Gwenpool now? Is that the idea? Oh, crazy. Okay. I don't see how that makes sense that like Kate Bishop would become Gwenpool when her name starts with Gwen. Somebody help me out here if you know what's happening with this. That's very strange, but interesting. Okay, I didn't know that was happening. Let's see what else is coming out tomorrow. Exquisite Corpses, #3. Department of Truth, we've mentioned, I think, before. Gunslinger Spawn just keeps pushing ahead. It's already at 45. I've been tempted by some covers with that book. Rat City is another Spawn book. Maybe I've mentioned that before too, but that's a really odd title because it's like a futuristic looking Spawn in a metal suit and like a mech suit, but Rat City is the alleyway where Spawn lives when he first comes to Earth, and that's like the kind of doorway between dimensions with the celestial world and our world, and it's just kind of odd that they sandwiched those two ideas together. That it's like a future Spawn book, but it takes place in Rat City. I don't hate that costume, and they've made some cool action figures out of that. Okay, just a few more things to point out here. Captain Planet #2 is resolicited. This came out already. So yeah, it looks like everything Dynamite is just being resolicited, which is good because I didn't buy the second issue when it first came on the stand. This I actually did see at the shop, I think, unless I'm just going crazy. And I hadn't decided if I was going to get that monthly yet, and I actually have put it on my pull, so I'll get that tomorrow also. The first issue, if I haven't mentioned this yet, was just okay. I think there's definitely potential with it, but it was kind of just... It was real thin on story. It was kind of just introducing each of the Planeteers, and it didn't really cover much new ground. It's kind of what you would expect. So it's Captain Planet, but it's a lot more serious. And then it's weird, this revival that's all of a sudden happening with this character, because we've got the series at Dynamite, and then Netflix just announced a series, a live-action Captain Planet series that's going to be showrun by Mark Guggenheim. So immediately, like when I saw that article, at first I went, okay, maybe this will be cool. Finally, we're going to attempt a serious Captain Planet live-action thing. And I figured it would be a movie before it was a series. And then I saw Guggenheim's name attached, and I went, great. So we're going to get these CW version of Captain Planet. Wonderful. But I don't know. We'll see what happens with it. Maybe he'll surprise us. I doubt it, though. Um, Real quick, we'll just run through and see if there's anything else worth mentioning. More Red Sonja attacks Mars. These covers have been just spectacular. This was not as cool as some of the other ones we looked at, but it's still neat. They've had great covers, and they have tons of variants because it's Dynamite. Look at that. That's awesome. I love these. I don't even care about Red Sonja, and I have considered buying some of these because they just look cool. This keeps jumping to the top on me. Usagi has a new book, 10,000 Plums. Okay, so there's an offshoot. Just checking to see if there's anything else that I should mention. I have not been getting the Thundercats Powerpuff Girls spinoff, or I should say I didn't put this on my poll. I thought these were already coming out. See, I'm really confused by Dynamite's solicitations right now because I thought this was, I thought this was already 2 or 3 issues in. Maybe it's not, or is this a second printing? I'm really not sure, but I don't think it is. Just looking at this, but yeah, I just don't care about Thundercats. But the art looks great. I don't know. Maybe I'll end up changing my mind just because I collect Powerpuff Girls as hard as I do. I'm going to go back and get the rest of the Dynamite series. I've started buying that now. But anyway, if there's anything I didn't mention that you guys saw that you want me to go back and look at, let me know. Let me see what people are saying in the comments here, and then I will mention some books that I bought last week. Thanks for hanging out with me tonight, guys, talking new comics. Austin, the new Godzilla universe starts tomorrow, too. I didn't know about that, and I didn't see that. Did I just accidentally skip over it? Sometimes my eyes don't immediately go to things that I just don't usually buy. So I don't know. I didn't see a Godzilla book on here though. I'm looking and I'm not immediately seeing it. I thought one of these Gotham City Sirens books was solicited last week. Or is that a weekly book for some reason? It's weird because that's already in issue 4. Okay. Here's that new Terminator book. I actually read the first couple issues of that and liked it pretty well. That just reminds me I need to go back and read some more of that. What else are folks saying in the comments here? Thomas Lowe, they are not doing Sam and Twitch books anymore. I don't know if there's currently a Sam and Twitch ongoing, but there was not too long ago. Dan Schneider, Marvel's comedy isn't unique or special anymore. It wasn't even that funny in the first place. Every book has that lame geek humor. Yeah, it's hard to even put my finger on what it is and why it doesn't work. It's just, it feels like the same gags over and over again, and like this, patting yourself on the back like we're all in the know, and like it just always reads like it's trying too hard. Like it doesn't feel clever, and I think it's just a brand that doesn't have legs, right? Like sometimes that kind of thing can seem funny and again novel at first, where it seems clever because it's only for the people that are in the know, and you feel included because you get it, right? And then it feels like you're just being pandered to at some point. And you also don't want everything to be like that because you don't want to feel like you're in... I hate to say it like this, but like you don't want it to feel like you're just one of a few people in a cult or something. And I don't mean that in a creepy way, but just the idea that if that's all it is, and the movies have sometimes devolved into this too, of course, famously now, you start to feel like we're not really trying to include any new people. It's really just about the people that are there already. and that's kind of irritating. Austin said Godzilla was next to Rat City. I didn't even see it. Let me look again. Oh no, it's a few over from that, but here it is. Yes, so here's the new Godzilla book for anybody that is interested in that. Uh, and IDW still has the license for that, even though Godzilla's been blending into lots of other things lately, both with DC and Marvel. It's really interesting. Yeah, that's an intriguing art style for this. Cool. Okay, let me get into some stuff that I bought last week. Like I said, biggest week I've had since I got back into this. So I did, like I said, bought, did bought. I can't talk right now. Comic book late night, everybody. I start at 10 and my brain has already evaporated. Okay, Absolute Batman number 10 is just nuts. And I mean, I could say that about every issue of this book, but this one has gone, I don't even want to say off the rails, because like I'm still following it and I'm really enjoying it, but it's just so unpredictable. You have no idea where the hell Snyder's going to go with this, and that's so refreshing. Like I'm really, and I think that's why I can't help but now read this month to month. I don't read anything month to month, or at least I hadn't for a long time. I guess now that I'm doing the show, I'm going to look at stuff more often, because I'm not promising full-on reviews for every issue, but I am kind of using this as an excuse to keep up a little bit better, and I'm a little bit more curious to look at my stuff right as I get it, so that I can at least tell you if it was cool or not, even if I don't do a full-on review. But this especially now, like I thought I was going to wait for trades and just read these all together because I wouldn't be able to keep up with what was happening month to month. But it's so much fun to be back in this headspace of the new issues coming out, and I can't wait to find out what happens next. I won't give too much away except to say that we've got a crazy time jump in this, which I did not expect from this book. And that is, so Bruce is kidnapped and he's trapped in a prison, and Bane periodically ends up fighting him, and the Arc M people are trying to break him, and it's Bane, so we're trying to break him physically but also psychologically, and like especially psychologically, and it feels like a very Weapon X sort of situation where maybe they're trying to turn Batman into the next Bane, or some kind of like hulking specimen that they can control. And enough time passes that I find myself, and this is speculation, I don't know, just looking at this, but I'm really wondering where a lot of Bruce's friends that we know will eventually probably be villains, like where they are by the time Bruce gets out of here, and if we're using that as a way to accelerate the timeline with their becoming villains. We're already doing it with one of them, and so I wonder if that's going to happen with some of the others. But this is like the most resourceful Bruce Wayne I've ever seen, and it's kind of just disgusting. I guess in the best possible way. There's just some really messed up stuff that Bruce does in order to survive in this. And I'm wondering how the man even retains his sanity after some of what happens in this issue. But yeah, the Bane stuff is just nuts. But anyway, it's great. I'm loving it. And it's not gonna be for everybody, but I'm really enjoying that. I decided to go ahead and pick up all of Crypto, Last Dog of Krypton. I like that first issue quite a bit. This is a really cute book, and it's it doesn't read like a cutesy all ages thing, but I think you could certainly give it to a kid. This is a very sad issue, though, because at the end of the first issue, and I will just spoil this part, Crypto comes down from Krypton, and he's picked up by a young Lex Luthor. And Lex does not treat his pets very nicely. I'll just say that. And he's speaking of Bane trying to break Batman. Lex is kind of trying to break his dog and to make him submissive by treating everything as a privilege, including eating. And it's a little bit hard watching a guy treat his pet this way, but it's very in character for Lex. And this is a teenage Lex who is trying to figure out how he is going to get the insurance money to eventually fund his empire. We're in that period with him. I have questions. The big one is why Crypto doesn't have powers when he first comes to Earth, or if for some reason he just has to discover them and doesn't realize what he can do yet. But he is treated like just a regular, typical dog with no special abilities in this issue, and I was really surprised by that. I'm also surprised that the writer's name is North and the artist's name is Norton. Just really close names. That's kind of unusual. And not creators that I am really familiar with. But yeah, see, this is the regular cover with Lex and his dog. But of course, will not remain his dog forever. But yeah, I like the art in this book a lot. Really expressive faces. It's good and pencily, but not sketchy. But anyway, Ryan North. No, I recognize that name. I don't know what I've read from him before, but Ryan North and Mike Norton. But anyway, this is a mini-series. I assume 5 or 6 issues. Okay, I'm taking too long. These aren't supposed to be full reviews. Robin and Batman, Jason Todd. I adored the first issue of this, so I decided to go ahead and pick these up. These are $5, which I guess is becoming more and more industry standard, but DC is still selling a lot of regular stuff at $4, and then usually if it's a $5 book, there's something a little beefier about it. So, and I really respect that they're still doing that. So this book is kind of a pristine format thing. Like, it's got information on the side like it's a trade, which is kind of nice. I think it's at least a few more pages than a standard comic book. But anyway, this is Lemire and Wyans, so you just, powerhouse writer and artist team. And I probably mentioned this with the first issue, but the art in this is very watercolor. It's a little bit surreal looking. Not like you can't see what's happening, but the figures are, a little amorphous, and it's got its own real original kind of style, and not what this artist usually does. It's kind of a cool multimedia thing, and it's about Batman coming to realize that he might have made a mistake in making Jason Todd Robin in the first place. He might not be able to control him. He might be in it for the wrong reasons. He's a little bit too much about revenge, and maybe he's going to be okay brutalizing and killing people. The only reservation I had with the first issue was I didn't love obvious foreshadowing to Red Hood, and I'm not sure if this really fits in line with regular Batman continuity. I don't guess I care if the story's good and it's really easy to read like a, universe once removed, like kind of an Elseworlds thing. But you've got a vigilante that doesn't think that Batman goes far enough. Not like he's never dealt with one of those before. But with this character called, I think, the Wraith, and he's kind of another phantasm-looking guy. sort of. He's got a hood, I guess, instead of that kind of a mask. But he's this creepy Wraith-like character. That's why his name is Wraith, and he is it looks like being set up to be kind of a dark mentor for Robin after this, and it's not really believable with at least what little I've read with Jason Todd, but especially the stuff right around Death in the Family. Kind of hard to buy that we're this early. We were already in a place where Robin was being like mentored to be a much darker vigilante and was all about revenge. Like you don't even get a full sense of that. Like he's clearly very different from Dick Grayson, but you don't even really get a sense of that until just before Death in the Family, when he may or may not have let a criminal like drop to his doom. And this kind of suggests that he's going into full Red Hood mode before that. The writing is great, though. The story's really good. I love the way we're handling Batman and Alfred in this, and his reservations about Jason Todd. So yeah, this might have to be a standalone thing, but it's quite good. I bought Ninja Turtles number 10. I still haven't read past the first issue of this, but I liked it quite a bit, and I'll talk more about this after I catch up. Then I've got DC X Sonic the Hedgehog number 3 because I somehow missed the third issue, so I had to get that reordered. And it's got a real fun cover where finally you have... so I already have 4, but where you have all of the Sonic characters wearing their counterparts' outfits for the DC characters that they're kind of paired up with in the first couple of issues. So I caught up on this today, and just real briefly, I'll say there's a lot of real fun novel stuff in this. If you are a fan of both of these properties, you gotta like Sonic or you're not gonna care, certainly. And it's really typical crossover stuff. The point of it is all fan service, and it's kind of all about just contriving situations in order to make references happen and to make one-liners happen and to have lots of cameos from Sonic characters and DC characters, respectively. Not that I would have expected a real deep story with this, but it would have been cool to do something a little bit fresher than what this is doing. I guess I appreciate that because I also got the Knuckles variant for the first issue. So I bought this issue 3 times now. I am collecting all these variants. People have been making fun of me for this, but I don't care. I'm in it now, so I'm getting these. I don't know if they'll do one for the entire Sonic, kind of Justice League. I sort of hope they don't, because I might. I said I'll get all these. I might cross stop short at some point if they do too many of those, because I don't know if I need like Tails as Cyborg or Silver as Green Lantern. If they do an Amy as Wonder Woman, just for the sake of the Trinity, I'll probably get those. But anyway, when I saw these variants, I wondered if we'd actually get these characters in these costumes in the book, or if that was just a gimmick that we were doing to sell it. And so I guess I appreciate that we did that. It's not an amalgamized thing. I thought that it might be, we might end up with an alternate universe where the Sonic characters were always the Justice League characters, and that might have been kind of fun. I'm really tired of these crossovers that come up with really loose, easy gimmicks in order to get characters in other people's costumes. It works okay with Green Lantern crossovers because you can just give somebody a Green Lantern ring and now they're a Green Lantern. But the excuse for Sonic and Knuckles and all these guys, and I don't mean to take this book too seriously, but the excuse for it is they come back to, in the third issue or at the end of the second issue, they wind up through a portal going to the DC universe, and the Justice League gets trapped on their Earth, which they don't refer to as Mobius. They just talk about it like it's a counter Earth. I didn't realize Mobius was supposed to also be Earth, but I guess maybe that makes sense. I don't know. But anyway, I'm sure this makes more sense to Sonic fans than, or to like hardcore Sonic fans than it does to me, because I haven't read enough of this stuff. But anyway, so the idea is the Sonic characters all think that that universe has maybe been destroyed and that the Justice League will never be able to come back over, and so they have to take up the slack. And so they're working with other DC superheroes, and they go, well, like Mr. Terrific meets them at the start of the third issue, and he says, well, you got to dress the part. So they all just get costumes of their counterparts. And if they had just said they're doing it in tribute, like they're afraid that their friends are dead and they're filling in for them because you're going to have a lot more crime, of course. A lot more supervillains are going to try stuff when the biggest most major characters in the Justice League are missing. It would make sense if they did it as a nice tribute to their friends. But it is a little bit odd that they never say that, and they just dress up like them. Why don't you just dress up like them? I thought that was kind of an odd choice. And some characters are just made really overly dumb for no good reason. There's this bizarre scene where Knuckles, who has taken the place of Superman, I guess because he glides and he's red, goes to Lex Luthor, and Lex pulls out a Chaos Emerald that is green, and he says, because the Chaos Emeralds, I won't get too in the weeds with this, but it's a real cookie cutter story, of course. It's all about Darkseid trying to get his hands on the Chaos Emeralds, and then the Justice League getting their hands on a bunch of them, we find out, and sending them through to the DC universe. They can send them through, but they can't go through yet. They can put smaller things in the portal, I guess. And in issue 3, you see the Sonic characters dealing with the Chaos Emeralds, and in issue 4, you see the DC characters. We kind of backtrack, and we see them get them in the first place. And it's a whole lot of really easy fights to get our hands on Chaos Emeralds in both the third and the fourth issue, which is also kind of irritating because everybody is just way too easy to beat. I was really excited about that cover with Metal Sonic and Batman, and I'm glad that they actually fight in that issue, but it's 2 pages, and Batman beats Metal Sonic very easily, because it's not really about telling a story so much as it is about just getting those images and getting to see those things happen. And so it might as well be a video game in the first place. But anyway, it's fun for what it is. But there's this ridiculous scene where Knuckles goes to Lex. I can't even believe we're having this conversation. I have now said these words. Knuckles goes to Lex, and Lex is like, oh, you're filling it. None of this makes any sense. Lex is like, oh, you're filling in for Superman. I wonder, just because he's wearing the costume, I wonder if you have the same weakness as Superman. And he pulls out a Chaos Emerald. I don't know how he got it. He just got lucky. He was the one that found it, I guess. And it's green, which would make it the Master Emerald too, I guess. And he sticks it up to Knuckles. And Knuckles is like, oh, thanks, Lex. You finally did something right. You found a Chaos Emerald. And then he almost leaves, and then he turns back around and goes, wait a minute. Did you think that was kryptonite, and you thought you were going to kill me with kryptonite? And then he beats Lex up, and he throws him over his desk. And I'm like, okay, everybody here is stupid. So Lex doesn't analyze the thing. He just thinks it's kryptonite because it's green. Okay. And he thinks that just because Knuckles is wearing a Superman costume, he's Kryptonian? Even though he's a anthropomorphized echidna? Okay. And then Knuckles is really slow in the uptake with that too. So, I don't know. It's not great. Speaking of not great, but it's fun, and it's it's been more fun to collect than to read. But I will say it is definitely better after the first issue. Speaking of not so great, Death of the Silver Surfer #2. I didn't like the first issue. I wasn't sure I was even going to keep going with this, even though it's just a miniseries. And if I was buying these, it would just be obligatorily because I do collect Silver Surfer some. Not that I have bought anything since the Allred runs. And I say runs because they that starts over at some point. But anyway, so I did decide to go ahead and get this just because the cover was cool with your like dead skeletal Galactus. I was like, if nothing else, it's worth it for that cover. And that's about it. Like, Silver Surfer himself is characterized really well in this, but he's real kind of buried in his own book, and it really feels like the whole thing is just going to be an excuse to kill him. There's some real kind of flimsy, heavy-handed social commentary in it, where there's this kind of push to look at aliens on Earth as less than human, and it kind of feels like it comes out of nowhere, and it's just really thinly veiled politics for immigration things going on right now, or at least that's how it read to me. And I wouldn't mind that so much if I liked more of the characters involved. But everybody just feels like kind of mouthpieces for ideas, and the just like with the first issue, like the comedy's not great. I'm not even saying it's a super jokey book, but I don't like the levity that's there. I'm not really digging on in any of the characters that are involved in this. And the big thing for me is it feels like Silver Surfer is going to die not in a super cool cosmic battle of some kind, but he's going to be killed by bigotry and corporate greed is how it's reading so far. Hopefully there's more to it than that, but I'm just not digging on it so far. My second issue, but my first impressions with this have not been great. I also bought Godzilla versus X-Men, and this is probably the first Godzilla book I've ever bought. I'm not a Godzilla guy really, but I was flipping through some of these, especially after Austin sent me some panels of the Fantastic Four one, and I was just really impressed with the art and how authentic it is to the period that it's aping. So this is a series of one-shots, as I understand it, that each are in a different era of Marvel where Godzilla just keeps showing up at different time periods. And so FF is in the 60s, I think, and this one is in the 90s, and it's the standard like Jim Lee and 90s cartoon show X-Men team, as you can see from the cover. And it's preposterous how authentic it is. Like in panel layouts, in dialogue, in everything, and it's splashy in all the ways that books were in the 90s. And if you handed me this cover list and I flipped through it, I would go, I didn't know there was a Godzilla X-Men crossover in the 90s. Like, I would not believe that it was published a couple of months ago. It's very impressive. I also think, so I haven't finished this. I started reading it before the show. I got about halfway through, so I don't know how it ends yet, but it feels like it's intended to be read either along with the others or on its own, and I think that's really cool. You guys know me, I always get excited when I buy a comic that is a comic book, that is a story beginning, middle to end, and the whole thing is culminating. I don't know if I'm going to buy all of these. I'm thinking about it, but I had to have that cover if nothing else. The whole thing is culminating in Godzilla destroys the Marvel Universe. I'm pretty sure they're all related, and that is, I think, a miniseries that's getting multiple issues. But these are all one-shots, as far as I understand it. And Austin told me that he wasn't digging on Godzilla destroys the Marvel Universe as much as the one-shots. He said that MCU humor thing is kind of creeping into that as well, which is unfortunate if that's true. But I guess it's also authentic to the modern period, since it's in these different time periods. But Anyway, let me just take a look at comments here real quick. Welcome, everybody. We've got a little bit more of a crowd now, and I just have not been looking at comments as I've been talking about my pulls from last week. Got a couple super chats. Let me read those real quick. Bob the Hun, $2 super chat. Any chance Absolute DC gets adapted in any form? I was thinking about that actually just today, and I think it absolutely. See, I can't even use that word anymore. I think there's every possibility that happens in either animated movies or some kind of animated series on HBO Max or something. I could totally see Gunn greenlighting something related to that series. Or to that line, I should say. And then the question is, would we get like several shows or several movies, or would you do some kind of I was gonna say like an anthology thing, but like the stories are complex enough that you'd want them to be separate things. So maybe you would just like pick one and see how well it does. So far, the one that I would most want to see adapted actually is Martian Manhunter, just because it looks so much like a 90s or a 2000s animated series to me. It's got that kind of Bruce Timm angular thing going on. Like it would be really easy to see that adapted, and all the psychedelic stuff, all the colors and the lighting. You could have so much fun with that in animation, in 2D animation. So I would really like to see that show, but I think they're all potentially ripe for it. Certainly, at least what I've read. But the real answer to that is it's super popular, and so probably. I mean, if you go back and you look at what happened with the original Ultimate Universe, and it would be much harder to do this with Absolute, certainly, because these are more full-on reinventions rather than modern updates with tweaks. And that's not, I guess that's not fair, because Ultimate, like certain books, certain characters and teams were the original concepts were monkeyed with a lot more than others. But especially just looking at Spider-Man, like it's the same idea, but it's more for a, at the time, like modern teenage audience. And we reinvented our villains a lot more. But you've got stuff like, you have a younger Aunt May and, all of that. But anyway, what we did a lot in adaptation for the next several years, couple of decades after that, is we would take a lot of ideas from Ultimate and put them in adaptation that is ostensibly adapting from the original. So, we were looking at Ultimate to some degree in characterization and attitude, ostensibly anyway, for, again, like the Amazing Spider-Man movies. And there were in a lot of projects, we were looking at Ultimate as much as we were with anything else. I don't know if you can do that with Absolute, but we did that because Ultimate was really popular, and that was what a lot of kids were reading. DC's profits have gone up by 50%. It's hard to imagine that we wouldn't do that in some way, and we couldn't get away from New 52, and people still argue to this day about whether that was a failure, but it sold huge numbers at the start, that even if that was only successful in the short term, it made everybody sit up and pay attention to them again. And we couldn't get away from New 52 for a decade. In animated movies, in DCEU, we were looking at that way too hard. So just the sheer popularity of it makes me go, you will see an influence in some way, if not a full-on adaptation. Bob the Hun, $2 super chat. Thanks very much. Could Absolute Batman get an animated DVD movie? Yeah, I think it could. But I think Gunn would be more likely to want to make those miniseries or even ongoing cartoon shows. Austin, are they still doing animated DC DVD movies? That line seems dead. I don't know. I mean, what was the last one that was greenlit? Because I feel like there's still one or two that have been announced that we haven't gotten yet. But it's been a while, and I can't remember what exactly. Like they finished the Crisis movies, they finished the two-part Watchmen thing, but I thought there was something else that I some other like major movie that was supposed to happen, unless Gunn's axed it by now. So yeah, like that line is done, or that line is likely done, especially with Gunn in charge now. But that doesn't necessarily mean that he wouldn't greenlight one and done animated movies. I just don't think they're going to come out like for direct to streaming, especially. But I don't think you're going to get them all the time. It does seem more likely that he'll greenlight TV shows before he'll greenlight more of those, though. Nicholas Bodo, hey Cap, do you think the New 52 influence is more subtle in Gunn's DCU? Well, so far we've got one movie and a cartoon show that I didn't finish, and I'm not seeing a lot of direct influence with what little we've had so far at all. Um, like I'm thinking back to Superman, and I'm going like, what about that is explicitly New 52? Like I'd have to noodle it because nothing's really coming to mind right away. Dan, there was a Batman Ninja sequel this year, but that's it. Yeah, and there was also they also did those like DCX Ruby or whatever that anime is called. That I think there were a couple of those maybe, and maybe the last one just came out. I can't remember. Um, but yes, thanks for reminding me about that sequel to Batman Ninja because I do want to see that. Nicholas Bodo, the closest is probably Superman's suit, at least with the chest. You think just because it's got a lot of lines on it? That's fair. I mean, we do that a lot anyway. Like Marvel puts lines all over its suits too. I don't know that the way they're doing that strikes me as especially new, just because it doesn't look like armor. It looks like padding, and then it's got some like frills. It's just got some lines on it. If it was more New 52 inspired, it'd be shiny. It would be armored. It would look like plastic or metal. But anyway, so now we'll go to a new segment that I started last week, and I'll just do this very briefly. But I'm doing a cover of the week, which I'm doing completely at random, where I go to a totally random cover from my collection, and then the next week I will mention what is actually in that issue because I went and grabbed it. So I'm using my CLZ collector app, and I can just shake it and pull up a random issue. And out of the almost 10,000 that I have, it's kind of fun to see what shows up. So from last week, I wound up with an issue that I probably talked about when it came out, like 13 years ago now. Look, it's Brightest Day, number 21, which is a really coincidental issue to be dealing with because look who's on the front. It's Martian Manhunter, and he's dealing in this issue. I read this completely out of context because it's been a long time since I read Brightest Day, and I remember enjoying the series quite a bit. It was weekly. It was immediately after Blackest Night, of course. It was the follow-up to that, and you've got a White Lantern going around wreaking havoc. Nobody knows what it's after. It's the Life Bringer, and it's resurrecting dead people and then seemingly killing them again, and nobody really knows why it's doing that. At one point in this, you get to see Martian Manhunter become the White Lantern. We did it with Batman before that. A lot of kind of gimmicky big two-page spreads to see people in alternate weird lantern costumes, and it's a lot of fun. Martian Manhunter in this is like it's kind of interesting how it sort of connects to Absolute Martian Manhunter, just in being all about perception and reality versus fantasy and what is real and what isn't. So there is a evil Martian girl named Decay, which is also an interesting coincidence because Austin and I just talked about post-crisis Wonder Woman last night, which included a villain named DK. I'm pretty sure that was the name of that villain. But anyway, there's this Martian girl. Her name is Duck with an apostrophe, and she is had resurrected Mars and wanted John Jones to live on it, but it was all a lie. It wasn't real, and he refuses to live in a lie, and so. The only way he can deal with Decay is to fly her into the sun and murder them both. And when he does that, she gets incinerated, but is he passes the test the universe has given to him, I guess, or the Lantern Ring or whatever, and he for a moment becomes a White Lantern. And it was just kind of odd reading this right after reading Absolute Martian Manhunter, and then he comes back to Earth and realizes that something has incinerated a bunch of a city, and he's got to go help people and deal with that. Yeah, just weird reading this again out of context. This was back when DC was drawing the line at 299. I want to say I really missed that, but you blinked and you missed it. That initiative lasted all of 6 months, and then they started pricing things at $4. It is surreal how long that's been, 13, 14 years, and I'm complaining about $5 price tags. I had said that was going to price me out, and I'm still not happy about it, but that's how good things have been lately, and how much I'm starting to feel like we're coming into maybe a little bit of a comic renaissance, where I am willing to pay my $5 for a few things, especially if they don't last forever and they're just miniseries and things, and they give you enough bang for your buck. That's the most important thing to me, because a lot of the things I'm paying $5 for are longer than 20 pages, and I actually feel like they're they know that's a lot to ask, and they're not just padding, but like actually putting some effort into it, which I really appreciate. But yeah, that $2.99 thing did not last very long. It looked like the whole industry was pushing for $4, and once you got to Rebirth, everybody was $4. Dan's Dan Brightest Day was still peak hype at the time for me and my comic obsession. Yeah, and that was right after I started getting into current. I bought, I think the full set of Black Knight is like the first thing I bought when I got back in, because the shop I started going to had all of it, and I had been hearing that was the big important event right then, and so I was like, well, that's probably the way to get back in, and it absolutely was. Especially because I was such a obsessed Death of Superman fan, and Blackest Night and Brightest Day were all about kind of like editorial commentary on the trope of characters not staying dead in DC. Braden Atkinson, Ruby is not an anime as it was made by Rooster Teeth. I don't know anything about that. It looks like a manga and an anime to me. I don't know. I have no idea. Dan Schneider, with all the different ways we have done Krypton, I could easily see a Superman adaptation that does the absolute version of Krypton, but not really anything else. I agree with that, sure. And there are elements of Absolute Batman that you could totally do, even if you didn't want to go all the way to he's 6'9" and he drives around. It's hilarious that Snyder has now told us precisely how tall he is. And he's huge. He's 6'9". But he's no match for Bane, who's like 20 feet tall when he gets on Venom. It's amazing. But even if you didn't go that far and you didn't have him driving around in the huge roving Batcave, you could maybe do a version where his mom is still alive, or where he's not raised by Alfred and he meets Alfred later. None of that stuff feels definitive for that character, but we've also done traditional Batman so many times that you could see another adaptation getting away with it if it was really good. Oh, it's the old machinima people. That's what Rooster Teeth is. Okay, thanks, Bob the Hun. This is why I do these things live, so that I'm always learning. Okay, so now we got to find out what our cover is going to be for this week and what issue I've got to pull back out and take a look at for next time. I'm going to try this segment a couple times and see how we like it. But I don't know. I've got this huge collection. I just thought it'd be fun to rummage through it in some way on the show. So here's my CLZ Comics app. I am exactly 25 issues away from 10,000, which I imagine I'll hit in the next couple 3 weeks, depending on if I buy any back issues or anything. And I have been around there before, but then sold things. So I'm finally gonna pass 10,000 and hopefully not sell too much. So I'm actually sitting at that number because I've been sitting right around it for like 10 years. Okay, here we go. So I have flipped my or shaken my app. It's a real fun feature, and we have hit Detective Comics 648. 648. So let's pull up this cover so I can show you what it looks like, and then I'll pull it out for next time. We're going to do some Batman 648. And there it is. That's the issue. That's a Chuck Dixon and Tom Lyle issue. I like Robin's domino mask there because it reminds me of the serials. That's a neat cover. I really like the lighting effects on that. And it's honestly not one I immediately recognize. That's probably one I got in a collection and didn't hand pick. I've got a lot of Batman like that now, where I bought them in big collections and I was just gap filling, and so I haven't looked real close at covers. I used to be able to just remember what I had and what I didn't, particularly with Batman when I was out in the wild, and I can't even remotely do that anymore. Partly because I have too much, but partly because, again, I didn't always handpick things. Like now sometimes it's just a matter of gap-filling numbers quickly when you get into a lot, because I used to buy in bulk quite a bit. And I just got a collection a couple months ago, and there was a lot of Batman in it. So this could even be pretty new for me. So no idea what happens in that one. So I'll read it, and we'll see what the villain is and what happens in that one, and if it's actually a detective story. Clue Master. That's a Clue Master issue, according to Comixology. Cool. Tyler says that's an important issue. Cool that you immediately know what's even in that. He says, I don't want to spoil it. Cool. Well, I will read that for next time. We'll talk about it next week when we get there. That's fun. I will probably keep doing that. Okay, last segment for the evening. I'm going to talk, I should never say briefly because then I end up talking forever, but my plan anyway is to talk pretty briefly about Absolute Martian Manhunter. Again, it's only 4 issues so far, and there's not a resolution to an arc yet. We're very much on a cliffhanger at the end of issue 4, and I don't want to spoil too much in case you haven't taken a look at this yet. So down the road, as I keep saying, there's every likelihood that Austin and I will do a deeper analysis on this and go more beat for beat, but I will just talk broadly about what this is and what it's like and what my experience was with it. So Absolute Martian Manhunter has the reputation now of all the Absolute books of being probably the most reimagined and certainly the most surreal and offbeat of these. This reads a lot like a Vertigo book to me, or even, not that I looked at a lot of this kind of stuff, but during, I think, Rebirth, DC had that new, like, Young Animals line, and it reads like it could have been one of those. It's really, I know I said this earlier, but it's really surprising to me that this is in the same universe as all these other Absolute things, and apparently, as we're going in, they're starting to reference each other more and more, and it's going to be clearer and clearer that they all take place in the same world, and that those characters will start meeting, and eventually you'll probably get an Absolute Justice League. This does not read like a superhero book at all yet, and he certainly doesn't have a superhero costume, and it reads like a supernatural psychological thriller before it's anything. So the idea here is everything is metaphorical. And then you get into the third or maybe fourth issue, but I think it's the third issue where the Martian starts even saying that all of the metaphorical things are reality, are literal, and it breaks my brain, and I don't fully entirely know everything that's happening yet with this, but that's part of the fun with it, that's part of the appeal, and I trust that eventually it will all make sense. I had to give this, even though it was only 4 issues, and I'm just doing kind of a sign flip review, I had to give this another once-over, because it did have that quality of, what am I looking at is real, what is actually happening, is this version of John Jones like schizophrenic? Is he nuts? Is he having hallucinations? And once you've read the first couple issues, if you go back, more or less everything that's happening makes sense, except, like, I can kind of tell what's real and what isn't. I'll say that, but I don't know what exactly the Martian is yet. So let me backtrack for a second and say, like I said, it's all taking the trappings of the literal ideas of Martian Manhunter and reimagining them in a metaphorical way. So the Martian is not a Martian. He is an alien entity, as far as I understand it, who possesses John Jones, or at least lives in his head, and shows him a different way of seeing the world that the book calls Martian vision. And it's this really inventive way to do comic book storytelling, where it's kind of this meta way to get us in the character's head, and it feels like a real Grant Morrison move. Like, it reminded me of Multiversity or something like that. We're finding every way we can to push envelopes with the medium and make it feel like you're in a different plane of existence when you're reading this. So when you get to the end of this issue, if you have the physical book, and I don't, I read this in digital, but this is part of the reason I want to get these in issues, you're supposed to be able to engage in the Martian vision yourself by putting the last page up to the light, and it changes what you're seeing, and gives you all of the psychedelic colors and characters that you wouldn't see otherwise. So if you're reading it in digital, you turn the page and it shows you what you're supposed to see when you do that. But I really want to get that book to experience what that's actually like. It's really neat, it's really inventive, and it's really cool in 2025 to see DC doing these kinds of fresh, crazy imaginative things I've never seen done, really attempted in a comic book before. So the idea is John Jones, before the book starts, almost dies in a crazy accident. And when he comes to, and there's an explosion and he almost dies. And when he comes to, there is this alien in his head that looks like a green Martian. And it is able to, like the DC Martians, read people's thoughts. And John Jones doesn't immediately, so John Jones is not the Martian Manhunter pretending to be human. He's just an FBI agent who's named John Jones. And he starts looking around, and he is perceiving things differently. It's all about perception. And he doesn't understand right away that he's able to see people's thoughts and even get memories from earlier in their lives, and it messes with the way he interacts with people, and it really confuses him, and it takes him for a loop. It messes with his marriage really badly, and he starts seeing colored smoke everywhere, which it tells him different things. And at first he thinks it's just smoke, and then there's kind of this mystery as to what exactly it means. There's this whole smoke motif through this, because another literal Martian Manhunter thing that we do a metaphor with is fire. And there's a lot of like arson and setting things on fire that happens in this. And there's this thematic idea that it's not about the fire, it's always about the smoke. And we don't fully understand, I think, by issue 4 what exactly it's getting at with that yet. But this is that page where when you put it up to the light, this is what you see. But anyway, there is, again, at first I didn't know how much of this was supposed to be hallucination and what exactly was literally happening. And it reminds me a lot of the Legion TV show, especially because there's also kind of a possessing spirit that happens in that show too. But the idea is there is a kind of a war happening, it feels like, on another plane of existence. It's a little Doctor Strangey in that way, where there are aliens that are taking over people and influencing them, sort of like Ares in the Wonder Woman book that we reviewed last night, where it seems like the bad guy aliens are able to do this more readily because of how hyper sensitive and angry and explosive just the society is right now. Definitely some clear social commentary about how divided people are and how like uncertain they are of the future, and not trusting institutions and all of that. And so we're told by the Martian that or the alien, I should say, that takes over John, that the white Martian is trying to destroy the world, and we don't know why yet, and we're told that we can't possibly understand it because it's so different from our human perception, our human experience, that I forget what the exact analogy is that he uses, but he says it's basically like trying to make an insect understand a philosophical concept. Like we're never going to get it. But he says the white Martian has chosen tragedy, and so you have all of these people that set their own homes and neighbors' homes and things on fire at the exact same time, and people that have no background in crime, and there's this like mass, what seems like a mass hallucination happening, a mass collective psychosis, and I don't know how all of this stuff adds up quite yet, but it's fascinating. It's really inventive in how it takes those initial trappings of Martian Manhunter and just does a completely other thing with it. I will say that John Jones is, with the alien in his head, pretty powerful. Because not only can he read minds, but the Martian is able to like change molecules around fire in order to protect him. I don't even have a clear sense of all the things it can do yet. And there is a little bit of that worry, I guess, that we could use that as a crutch where it can kind of do anything we want it to do, because the rules aren't super clear yet. But I think the writer knows what the rules are. By the way, let me go back, just to give credits on this, because these are names I don't recognize, but like masters of the craft. It's pretty crazy not knowing these creators while looking at something that is this well executed. It's Den's Camp and Javier Rodriguez, which actually is a name I recognize, but I don't know what from, and this art seems like totally fresh and original to me. I would describe this as kind of Steranko-esque. Again, just in how psychedelic and surreal it is, and it's got a little bit of that kind of 60s, 70s Art Deco thing, for lack of a better word. But it's just wild and trippy, and I guess the only major reservation I have about it is that I don't have a real clear sense yet where the like John ends and the Martian begins, which I'm sure will be clearer the more I read. But so far, he feels a little bit like dragged through his own book, which is understandable. Like he doesn't fully grasp what's happening, and he's kind of doing his best in a bizarre, impossible sort of situation. But in issue 4, he's kind of begging and pleading his wife to stay with him when he's been just emotionally distant and physically not there, and he's moved her and her kid to a new city with like no explanation. And a lot of what he does seems a little bit out of his control, where there's kind of a symbiotic relationship happening with him and the Martian, and I don't think he always knows why he's doing the things he's doing. And so again, another shoe has got to drop at some point where he'll where there will be more of a clear separation, or he'll make a more clear, like, specific choice about how he's going to handle things. But right now, he feels a little passive and a little dragged through his own book, which is really the only reservation I have. And I didn't find it as page-turning and immediately gripping as I did Absolute Batman at first, just because I really didn't know what was happening until a couple issues in, and then going back and rereading it. This is one of those things that absolutely requires a second read. But like I said, it's just really fresh and original, and poignant, and really creepy, which I'm really enjoying about it. And I'm going to be fascinated to see how it fits in with the rest of the Ultimate books. But not a ton else I can say about it, not knowing where all of this is going. Austin said he thought it might end up being my favorite of these. And I feel like I need more of it before I can decide for sure if that's true, just not knowing where it's all going. But it's definitely up my alley in certain ways. He said it was kind of like X-Files. I don't know if I would have even thought of that reading it, but I mean, he's right. Like, we're dealing with FBI agents and aliens and conspiracy theories, and it's episodic in its way, even while it's building a grander narrative, because each issue has kind of a different, like, X-Files-esque kind of crime that he's trying to solve, but they're all certainly related, it turns out. Like I said, the Martian isn't actually a Martian. As far as we know anyway, it seems to be an alien entity that I wonder if it's even from space or if it's another dimension or something. Like, I have no idea what exactly it is, but the Martian idea is brought up because this character, even before he's merged with the Martian, is talked about as being, like, kind of cold and doesn't really talk about his emotions, and so he's referred to as a Martian, and so the Martian idea is discussed as a way to talk about alienation and otherness, and that kind of thing. Let me go ahead and read some comments here and see how other people are feeling about this. Austin, there's also a Ditko Doctor Strange quality to the art, but it goes farther on how trippy it is. Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I was thinking Doctor Strange a lot through this, actually, particularly with this kind of stuff. Dan Schneider, this does to Martian Manhunter what Joker 2019 was trying to do to Batman. That's an interesting comparison. I think I agree with that. Nicholas Bodo, I think the Martian is a being that's beyond dimensions. That's where I'm at with it too. Dan Schneider, you could put an adaptation of this out as a real movie and not a superhero movie. Yes, absolutely. And a cool multimedia thing. You could do, like, I think you could do a great animated feature or series with this, but I think you could also do a really cool blend of live action and animation in adapting this. Alex409, this volume will be 6 issues. Okay, good to know. Nicholas Bodo, the White Martian is a terrifying environmental villain the more I think about it. Yeah, that's a good call. Mass hysteria, that Alex409, yeah, that's kind of the word I was looking for. Nicholas Bodo, I think the Martian is from another dimension, Cap. Alex, my favorite is Absolute Wonder Woman. Austin says that's his favorite too. Yash, how do you feel about the last page on issue 1? I need to get it in physical to see what that actually is like. But it was a really cool concept. After I read that today, I was kind of kicking myself for not picking that up at the shop last week because I'm pretty sure my shop actually has a copy of it right now if they haven't sold it. But I'll run back and look at that actual image real quick. I'm curious about what this like asterisk thing is. We do this a few times where it says Martian mind something something and then ER. So like, is he calling himself Martian Manhunter? Like, is that what's happening there? A lot of kind of question marks. Like, I understand the actual happenings with it, but I don't understand any of the alien stuff yet. Like, I don't know where these things come from and what exactly they can all do. But again, I'm trusting it. Certainly. Chewbacca's Lovely, this book also has a 13 plus rating, which surprises me. Do you mean that it's not higher than that? Because the psychedelic nature of it, like the trippiness of it, is helping to mask some of the violence. So it's a really bloody book where the blood is rendered very often as like splashes of paint, basically, and that kind of thing, which is also something that, if memory serves, Legion kind of did. Not with the paint thing, but just in, there was a lot of really haunting imagery in that show, but we would mask just how violent it was with kind of surreal imagery. Austin, I think it's supposed to be ambiguous, but it could be mind effer. Martian mind effer. Oh, maybe so. Yeah. We're doing that irritating. I don't know why I didn't think of that, because we usually do the asterisk thing or symbols to censor language. But because it's Manhunter, I just kept thinking, like maybe he's saying Mindhunter, and for some reason our character isn't getting all of the letters. But I think you're right. I think that's what it is, because that is what this book is. It's one big mind freak, mind F. Yeah, it's awesome to hear your perspective. Yeah, thanks. And I mean, yeah, I just read this today, and the arc's not done yet, so I'm a little scatterbrained with it, certainly, but when it's done, I certainly would like to talk about it some more. Um, but yeah, so that's Martian Manhunter. That's absolute Martian Manhunter. Um, it really feels like I said earlier, we're coming into a new potential renaissance with comics. I have not felt this challenged in a long time. With new comics, and it's interesting that you've got those books that are really thought provoking and making you feel like you're having experiences that you've never had before, even after 40 years reading comics, and then you also have a lot of just fun, fan servicey, frivolous, escapist crossover books and things, and a lot of really fun ones. I enjoy stuff like this. These are the kinds of things that make it that that make it easy to just like get out of your regular complicated life for a minute and remember what it was like when you would just turn on a Saturday morning cartoon show or something. And those things tend to be more for adults than for kids now, so they will sometimes be a little bit more sophisticated, or they'll pretend to be. But I like that stuff too, and I like that we've got kind of everything in between. Like there's a really nice variety right now, and I know I keep harping on this point, but I'm seeing a cool variety. Like there are more books on the stands that I can buy right now, which I could not that I would maybe want to buy right now, which I could not have said a few years ago, and it's really cool that there's so much vying for my attention that seems worth my time, and I don't really care about keeping up with the main continuity of the big two. Like it's really cool. I bought 7 books last week, and except for Silver Surfer or Death of Silver Surfer, none of them are in the regular continuity of the big two. Like I'm getting Ninja Turtles again, which is closer to that sort of thing because there are multiple titles that are all in the same universe. And if you wanted to buy everything, you'd be buying 4 or 5 books a month. Maybe right now just 3. And I'm done being a completionist with IDW Ninja Turtles now because they lost me with the book after Tom Waltz left, and I didn't buy everything, and so I don't feel like I have to have everything with that now. But I am gonna keep up with the main book anyway, and then I'll read. I'll sample the other 2 books that are out right now in digital and see if they're any good. There's a Night Watcher comic that has interesting art, and I don't know if I care enough to read that. But I'm gonna assume I've only read the first issue of IDW. I'm gonna assume that that's maybe a book that takes place before the new book that's Raphael being a vigilante, and maybe that's what gets him thrown in prison because he's in prison at the beginning of the new book. I'm not sure. Maybe that's what's happening, but I haven't read that yet, so I don't know. But it's just fascinating what's happening right now. Austin, what book are you going to get Cap to cover next time, Bob the Hun? Yeah, thanks for keeping me on track, Austin. I was just about to ask. But yes, he is the Super Chat winner of the evening. So congrats to you, and thanks to the couple of you guys that put in Super Chats and supported the channel in that way. But we'll wait for a minute and see if he's still around and can throw in a thing. He just did. Okay, so yeah, Bob the Hunt is our winner. I don't know a lot of modern comics, but to take a shot in the dark, I'll go with The Ultimates 2024 by Denise Camp. Okay, so we're doing like nothing but absolute, and now somebody pivots, and it's to Ultimates. Yeah, I don't know anything about what they're doing with New Ultimates, and I hope that it's readable without reading anything around it, because I haven't been at all. He says, I almost went with Ultimate Spider-Man, but I went with the Ultimates just because Doctor Doom is a member. Oh, that's interesting. Like I said, I read the first issue of Spider-Man when it started, and I really liked it. And you don't have to change your pick. I would have been really excited if you'd picked that, but I will do Ultimates if that's what you want me to do. I just hope that it's readable without anything else coming up to it. But yeah, Doctor Doom is a member. That is really interesting. Yeah, if we hadn't had any super chats tonight, I was gonna go ahead and try out Radiant Black, which people have been telling me is really good. That's Kyle Higgins' creator-owned thing at Image, where he kind of does his own tokusatsu sort of character, inspired by Power Rangers and Sentai and other tokusatsu type things. But I will pick that on a week that nobody else picks anything. Oh, Denise Camp is. Oh yes, because I just said that. I'm sorry. I'm tired. But yeah, that's the Martian Manhunter guy. So that's a good reason for us to do this. Yeah, because it will be no. That's good. Because I would be curious to read something else by that writer. Okay. Well, I want to say thanks to everybody for watching, and I hope you go out and support your local comic shop tomorrow if you are a singles buyer, and we'll see what I end up getting at the shop. It doesn't look like a giant week for me, but I've already got a couple things on my poll, so it's going to be at least 4 or 5 again, I would imagine. Tyler, I'm not sure how Ultimates reads if you don't read the setup. Okay. Well, I can look into it and see if what I really need to look at before that, and if I can get at least a sense of the continuity, before that. But anyway, appreciate you guys. I will see you again real soon. Once again, support your local comic shop. Thanks for watching, and I will be back tomorrow night with a stream with Austin. We're supposed to be doing we're supposed to be looking at Transformers trailers. Sorry, took me a minute. I was like, what are we doing tomorrow? Yes, Transformers trailers. So that should be amusing because he knows those movies and I don't, and it'll be kind of funny to go back to those trailers. Tyler says just read Ultimate Universe #1 first. Okay, cool. I will do that. Hopefully that's good enough. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you soon.